When you reach 65 and beyond, who will truly stand by your side? It's a question that doesn't hit you when you're young. Back then, the answer seemed simple. Your family, your lifelong friends, the people you've trusted for years. You count on them without thinking twice. But something begins to shift as you grow older. Life moves faster, people change, priorities evolve. Your children build lives of their own. Friends drift apart or face their own challenges. And slowly, sometimes painfully, you begin to see that the support system you once relied on so confidently might not be as steady or present as it once seemed. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's not about shutting people out or giving up on relationships. It's about waking up to a deeper truth. That lasting stability, comfort, and strength often come from within, not from others. In this video, we'll explore 6 powerful and essential pillars of support that, as you age, often prove to be more dependable than even family. These pillars are not just ideas. They're practices, habits, and mindsets that can carry you through the years ahead with dignity, independence, and peace of mind. By the end, you'll see aging not as a loss of support, but as a chance to build a stronger foundation than ever before. A foundation that doesn't shake when life gets tough. A foundation you can count on, not just sometimes, but always. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you enjoy this video, please type 1 in the comments. If you don't like it, type 0 in the comments to let me know so I can make better videos for you. Now let's get started. Pillar 1. Your financial stability. As you enter the later chapters of life, particularly after the age of 65, one truth becomes clearer than ever. The most dependable, consistent, and empowering form of support isn't found in another person. It's your financial stability. This may seem like an impersonal concept, but in reality, it's the quiet, often underestimated force that shapes your sense of freedom, dignity, and peace of mind as the world becomes more unpredictable with age. While money may not buy happiness, it absolutely buys options. And having options in your golden years is priceless. Options give you the freedom to make decisions on your own terms. They allow you to choose where you live, how you spend your time, what kind of medical care you receive, and whether or not you need help with day-to-day tasks. Without this financial cushion, decisions can feel forced or out of your control, making it harder to live life on your own terms. Far too often, we grow up believing that family will always be there to catch us if we fall, our children, siblings, or close relatives. The comforting thought is that no matter what, they will step in during times of need. However, as the years pass and circumstances change, you begin to realize that even the most well-meaning loved ones have their own burdens to carry. Your children, no matter how much they love you, are balancing careers, raising their own families, managing mortgages, and dealing with their own financial stress. The reality is that relying on them for financial support as you age isn't just unrealistic. It can also place an unintended burden on them, both emotionally and economically. Take the story of James, a 72-year-old man who had always been the cornerstone of his family. Throughout his life, he was the one who helped pay for his children's education, offered financial assistance during tough times, and gave without hesitation when anyone asked. Naturally, he assumed that if the tables were ever turned, his children would be there for him. But when a sudden medical emergency drained his savings, James reached out to his children, expecting them to help, only to discover they were struggling to stay afloat themselves. While they loved him dearly, they were up to their necks in their own financial challenges, including mounting bills, student loans, and the pressures of raising families. The realization was painful, not because his children didn't care, but because he had failed to recognize that life doesn't stop throwing curveballs, and sometimes the people you rely on the most are fighting battles of their own. This was a powerful wake-up call for James, and it made him realize that depending on others, no matter how much they love you, for financial security is a gamble no one should take. That's why financial independence is more than just a nice goal. It's a foundational pillar of security, and it's not about becoming wealthy or retiring with millions. It's about being prepared. It's about having a clear plan for the unexpected, knowing that you have a steady source of income that you can rely on, and feeling confident that no matter what happens, you are not at the mercy of others. Ask yourself, have I saved enough to cover unexpected expenses? Is my retirement income stable and diversified? Have I reduced unnecessary spending and reviewed my insurance to ensure it covers all necessary aspects of my life? Have I created a financial strategy that will protect my future and allow me to live comfortably, regardless of outside circumstances? If you're unsure, now is the time to act, before a crisis strikes. Speak with a financial advisor, revisit your budget, and educate yourself about smart, low-risk investments that will give you long-term stability. Reduce avoidable debts and build a safety net that gives you the breathing room you need to live life with peace of mind. Because here's the truth. Financial freedom isn't just about having money. It's about control over your future. It's about knowing that you have the power to make decisions that align with your desires and needs without fear or dependence on anyone else. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what life throws your way, you have already taken the necessary steps to safeguard your independence. You don't need to wait for someone to come and rescue you because you've already made the choice to secure your own future, and that is one of the most empowering feelings you can have as you move through this stage of life. Your financial stability is not just a safety net, it is your strength, your foundation, and the peace of mind that will carry you through life's unpredictable journey. When you can rely on yourself, you have the freedom to navigate this chapter of life with confidence, knowing that you are equipped to handle whatever comes your way. Pillar 2. Your physical health. After the age of 65, there is one undeniable truth that becomes clearer with each passing year. Your physical health is the foundation upon which everything else in life rests. No amount of wealth, love, or support from others can take its place. You may have financial resources, but if your health begins to decline, all that wealth loses its value. Without strength, energy, and mobility, even the most basic tasks can become overwhelming, and the independence you've worked your whole life to achieve can slip away before you know it. It's easy to assume that when something goes wrong with your health, someone, a spouse, a child, a caregiver, will be there to help. But the reality is that no one can walk for you, cook nutritious meals for you, or force you to make that doctor's appointment you've been avoiding. The responsibility for maintaining your health lies with you alone, and this responsibility becomes more urgent, not less, as you age. Far too many people fall into the trap of passive neglect, putting off taking care of their health by telling themselves they'll get around to it later. But later often arrives with a wake-up call, and sometimes it's a wake-up call that can't be reversed. Take, for example, the story of Elliot, a 68-year-old man who had once lived an active, energetic life. After he retired, he fell into a routine of inactivity, thinking that he would have time to get back to the gym or start exercising again. But days turned into months, and eventually, his muscles began to weaken, his joints stiffened, and his overall vitality began to fade. Simple tasks like climbing stairs or even getting out of bed became a struggle. His children visited when they could, but they had their own busy lives. As Elliot faced his reality, he realized that unless he took charge of his physical health, he was on the path to losing control over much more than just his body. That's why prioritizing your physical health isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. You don't have to run marathons or eat only salads. Small, consistent habits done every day can dramatically change the trajectory of your health and your life. Take a walk every day, even if it's just around the block. Stretch your muscles, strengthen your body, and fuel it with wholesome foods that nourish rather than deplete. Schedule regular checkups and pay attention to your body's signals. If something doesn't feel right, don't wait for it to get worse. Too often people dismiss aches, pains, and fatigue as simply a part of aging, when in fact they could be early warning signs that something needs attention. Ultimately, your physical health is the cornerstone that supports every other part of your life. It's what allows you to travel, spend time with your grandchildren, live independently in your own home, and maintain the energy to do what you love. Prioritizing your health is not selfish. It's one of the most loving acts you can perform, for both yourself and those who care about you. The healthier you are, the less you'll need to rely on others, and the more you'll be able to show up for life on your terms. Your body is your greatest ally. It's the only one you have. Treat it with the care and respect it deserves, and it will continue to support you through every season of life, allowing you to live with vitality and independence for many years to come. By investing in your physical health now, you're ensuring that the years ahead are not just about adding time to your life, but about adding quality to the life you lead. Pillar 3. Your social circle. As we grow older, one of the most silent and overlooked risks to our well-being is social isolation. It doesn't typically happen all at once. Instead, it sneaks in gradually. A friend moves away, a neighbor you once shared laughs with, passes on, and those weekly coffee dates that once filled your days become rare. Over time, the vibrant social circle you once enjoyed starts to shrink, and before you know it, you may realize how quiet your world has become. The tragic mistake many people make after the age of 65 is assuming that solitude is just a natural part of aging, that it's normal to feel lonely or disconnected. But the truth is, loneliness isn't just an emotional burden. It can have devastating effects on both your mental and physical health. Studies have shown that loneliness is linked to cognitive decline, a weakened immune system, depression, and even a shorter lifespan. In fact, chronic loneliness has been compared to smoking 15 cigarettes a day in terms of its damaging effects on your health. It's easy to believe that your family will always be there to fill the gap in your social life. While your children or relatives may love you dearly, they often have full lives of their own, careers, children, commitments, and their own personal stresses. They may call, they may visit, but they simply cannot, and should not be expected to, fulfill all of your emotional and social needs, and that's perfectly okay. The reality is that one of the strongest pillars of lifelong support is not found in family alone, but in the friendships and social connections you choose to nurture. These are the people who bring joy and color to your life. They're the ones who check in with you, ask how you're doing, and genuinely care about the answer. While they may not be blood relatives, the presence of friends and companions can be just as important, if not more so, when it comes to maintaining emotional health and stability in later life. Consider the story of Margaret, a 73-year-old woman who, like many, initially relied on her adult children to be her primary emotional lifeline. For years, she waited for the calls, the visits, and the invitations. While they did come occasionally, over time, they became less frequent. The waiting, once hopeful, turned into disappointment, and that disappointment grew into loneliness. One day, Margaret had an epiphany. She realized that if she wanted to combat her isolation, she needed to take action herself. She joined a local senior walking club, signed up for an art class, and even reached out to an old friend she hadn't spoken to in years. Slowly but surely, her days began to fill with genuine conversations, shared laughter, and the kind of human connection that had been missing for so long. She no longer had to depend on her family's schedule to feel connected. Instead, Margaret created her own vibrant, supportive community. Building and maintaining a strong social circle in later years isn't just a nice bonus. It's essential to your emotional health and overall well-being. Whether you're attending a community event, volunteering, joining a local club, or simply chatting with a neighbor during a walk, every connection you make contributes to your social foundation. These bonds don't just provide companionship, they offer perspective, humor, understanding, and shared experiences, the things that remind us we are part of something larger than ourselves. They help to nurture a sense of belonging, of being seen, and of feeling understood. Of course, creating and maintaining these relationships does take effort. It means putting yourself out there, taking the initiative, and sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone. But the reward is immeasurable, a life that feels fuller, more supported, and more connected. The more you invest in your relationships now, the more they will continue to support and enrich your life in the years to come. Not out of obligation, but out of mutual respect, love, and genuine connection. These bonds of friendship are one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, especially as you age, and they will undoubtedly be one of your most reliable pillars of strength, joy, and fulfillment. As the years go by, it's important to remember that you don't have to do it all alone. Whether it's through laughter, shared experiences, or simply knowing someone is there, building a strong and diverse social circle can provide you with the support, comfort, and connection you need to thrive in your later years. So take that first step, reach out, and begin cultivating the friendships that will carry you forward with a sense of belonging and joy. In the end, it's these relationships that will ensure you never have to face the challenges of aging in solitude. Pillar 4. Your sense of purpose. One of the most underestimated sources of strength and support in life isn't another person. It's your own sense of purpose. After the age of 65, many of the roles that once defined you, whether it was being a full-time parent, a dedicated professional, or a tireless caregiver, begin to fade or transform. As these familiar roles dissolve, you may experience an internal shift that leaves you feeling uncertain or even lost. The routines that once kept you grounded begin to unravel. Your calendar, once filled with appointments and obligations, opens up. The demands of work or family life slow to a quiet hum, and in that stillness something unexpected can creep in, a sense of disconnection. Without meaningful direction, even the most loving family or stable finances can't fill the void. The truth is, what truly anchors us, what fills our days with color, energy, and meaning, is a reason to wake up with intention. It's a purpose that excites us, challenges us, and gives us something to strive for. Purpose is not a luxury. It's a fundamental need, just as essential as food, shelter, and human connection. It keeps your mind engaged, your spirit uplifted, and your heart invested in life. Without purpose, even the most secure life can feel empty. And here's the most important truth. No one else, not even the people who love you most, can hand you a purpose. It's something that comes from within. It's a deeply personal journey, one that continues to evolve, especially after retirement. Take George, for example. A 70-year-old retired engineer who, like many, initially looked forward to the freedom of retirement. At first he relished the quiet mornings, long afternoons, and the simple pleasures that came with no longer having a full schedule. But after a few months, restlessness began to set in. His days started to feel repetitive, almost dull. Though his children called when they could, their lives were busy and far removed from the quiet solitude George found himself in. Slowly he began to feel invisible, as if the most meaningful chapters of his life had already been written. But then George decided to take action. He began volunteering at a local elementary school, teaching children how to build small machines and solve simple engineering problems. What began as a small commitment soon turned into a new chapter of purpose. The joy and excitement in the children's eyes reignited his own passion for problem solving, and he found himself waking up with excitement once again. For the first time in months, George felt like he mattered. He realized that purpose wasn't something that vanished with retirement. It was something he could create, adapt, and find in new places. Purpose doesn't have to mean returning to your previous career or making a huge global impact. It can be something simple yet deeply fulfilling. Maybe it's nurturing a garden, writing your life story, mentoring someone younger, or even taking up a creative hobby you've always dreamed of. Perhaps it's setting a health goal to walk a certain number of steps each day, planning a trip you've always dreamed of, or learning something entirely new like a language or an instrument. What matters most is that it gives you energy, direction, and a sense of connection to something larger than yourself. If you found yourself drifting, unsure of what's next, or feeling like your best days are behind you, know this: your purpose hasn't disappeared. It's evolving. Just because you've reached a certain age doesn't mean you've reached the end of the road. In fact, you're standing at the beginning of a new chapter. And the beauty of this stage of life is that your purpose is yours to define, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. You have the freedom to follow what lights you up, without the deadlines, expectations, or pressure that came with the busyness of life before. This is your time to explore new interests, reconnect with passions you put on hold, or try something entirely different. So take a deep breath, tune into what excites you, and let that be your guide. Whether it's volunteering, traveling, creating art, or learning something new, the most important thing is to live with intention. Because when you live with purpose, you don't just exist, you thrive. Purpose is the fuel that keeps the fire of life burning, no matter how many candles are on your birthday cake. Pillar 5. Your emotional resilience. Life doesn't stop testing you just because you've reached 65. If anything, the tests simply evolve. The challenges become more personal, the losses more profound. The silences in the room grow louder, and the familiar rhythms of life often begin to break. Friends who once provided company and support may move away or pass on. Health, once taken for granted, becomes more fragile. There are days when the uncertainty feels overwhelming, and sometimes the loneliness can feel like a heavy weight. The passage of time, once measured by milestones and achievements, is now marked by different losses, both big and small. And yet, despite all these changes, there is one thing that remains within your control: your emotional resilience. Resilience, in its simplest form, is the ability to bounce back after hardship, to regain your footing after loss or disappointment, and to keep going even when the road ahead seems unclear. But emotional resilience is so much more than just a coping mechanism. It is the steadying force that helps you weather the storms of life. It's the deep well of inner strength that you cultivate through self-awareness, self-compassion, and the ability to adapt to whatever life throws your way. While friends and family can offer love and encouragement, the truth is that no one can live inside your thoughts. No one can regulate your emotions or pull you out of despair when they too are navigating their own struggles. Even the people you rely on the most, your loved ones, who may be deeply empathetic, may not always have the capacity to be the emotional anchors you need them to be. That's why it's so vital to develop your own emotional resilience. It's what allows you to stand strong even when the world feels uncertain. Consider Helen, a 75-year-old woman who lost her husband of over 40 years, a partner she had shared a lifetime of memories with. The grief was unbearable, and for a time she leaned heavily on her children, hoping their presence would somehow ease the sharp pain in her heart. Her children, as much as they loved her, had their own busy lives, young children demanding careers, personal struggles, and despite their best intentions, they couldn't always be there in the way she needed. Helen began to realize that waiting for others to fix her pain was preventing her from healing. She wasn't getting the relief she longed for, and so she made the decision to take responsibility for her emotional healing. Instead of continuing to rely on others, Helen joined a grief support group where she found solace in shared experiences with others who were also navigating loss. She began journaling every morning, not as a way to dismiss her grief, but to understand it, to make sense of it. She incorporated small but powerful practices of self-care and gratitude into her daily routine, slowly beginning to rebuild her inner world. What she discovered was life-changing. Healing didn't mean forgetting her husband or pretending that she was fine when she wasn't. It meant learning to live with the pain while also finding moments of peace, joy, and strength amidst the sorrow. Helen became her own emotional anchor, and through that she found a new sense of resilience, a quiet but powerful strength that carried her through even the darkest of days. Emotional resilience is not about being unaffected by life's hardships. It's about learning how to carry those hardships with grace and strength. It's about recognizing and honoring your feelings, allowing them the space they need to exist without judgment, and then choosing how you will move forward. You may find that nurturing your emotional health takes many forms: therapy, meditation, journaling, prayer, or simply allowing yourself time to sit in stillness and listen to your emotions. Every one of these tools helps build the foundation of resilience that supports you when life becomes difficult. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to give yourself the space to feel, heal, and grow. Here's the beautiful thing about emotional resilience. The more you invest in it, the less you will need to depend on others to steady your emotional ship. You begin to cultivate a sense of inner peace, a well of strength that you can return to time and again, no matter what life throws at you. The storms will come. That's inevitable. We all face moments of uncertainty, loss, or hardship. But when you are emotionally resilient, you become like a tree with deep roots that no matter how hard the winds blow can bend but won't break. You become grounded, steady, and whole within yourself. So, how can you build this resilience in your own life? Start by acknowledging that you are not weak for feeling pain, sadness, or fear. These emotions are part of being human, and the more you allow yourself to experience them fully, the stronger you become. Pillar 6. Your ability to adapt. If there's one unshakable truth about life after 65, it's this: change is inevitable. The world keeps moving, people evolve, and the routines and relationships that once felt solid can shift right beneath your feet. The neighborhood looks different, technology moves faster, health needs become more complex, and the roles you once played, as a worker, a caregiver, a partner, may no longer define your daily life. And in the face of all this change, the greatest asset you can develop is not resistance. It's adaptability. Those who thrive in their later years aren't necessarily the strongest or the wealthiest. They're the ones who know how to bend without breaking. They're the ones who don't cling too tightly to the way things used to be, but instead open themselves to what life still has to offer. Because the truth is, holding on too tightly to the past can keep you stuck, disconnected, and unable to move forward. But when you allow yourself to evolve, mentally, emotionally, and practically, you create space for new experiences, new relationships, and a renewed sense of purpose. Think of people like Irene, a 76-year-old widow who once said she'd never touch a smartphone or a computer, but when her grandchildren moved across the country, she felt the ache of distance. So, she decided to try something new. She learned to video call, joined social media, and even signed up for an online painting course. What started as a small act of adaptation became a lifeline to connection, creativity, and community. She didn't just learn a new skill. She discovered a new version of herself, one that was curious, engaged, and open to change. Adaptability doesn't mean you have to love every change that comes your way. It means being willing to try. It means staying mentally flexible, emotionally open, and courageous enough to explore new paths even when the familiar ones disappear. Whether it's learning to use new technology, finding new hobbies, adjusting to a different pace of life, or accepting new living arrangements. Your ability to adapt is what keeps you emotionally agile and resilient in the face of uncertainty. And here's the beauty of it. The more you practice adapting, the more confident you become in your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. You stop fearing change and start meeting it with curiosity instead of dread. You become someone who doesn't just survive aging, but someone who grows with it. In a world that never stops shifting, your ability to adapt becomes a powerful, unshakable pillar of support. It keeps you connected, capable, and open to all the beauty still waiting ahead. Reaching 65 and beyond is not the end of the road. It's the beginning of a new chapter, rich with wisdom, perspective, and the chance to live life more intentionally than ever before. It's a time when the pace may slow, but the depth of your experience deepens. And while your love for your family will never fade, it's important to recognize that real, lasting support doesn't come from hoping others will always be there. It comes from the foundation you choose to build within yourself. Your financial stability is more than just a bank balance. It's your freedom, your dignity, and your ability to make decisions without fear. Your physical health is your anchor, the key to keeping your independence, mobility, and energy to do the things that matter. Your social circle reminds you that you are not alone, that laughter, companionship, and connection are always within reach when you choose to seek them. Your sense of purpose breathes meaning into your days, proving that fulfillment doesn't retire just because you do. Your emotional resilience becomes your inner strength, a quiet, steady force that carries you through grief, setbacks, and uncertainty. And your ability to adapt gives you the power to not just endure change, but to embrace it and evolve with it. When these 6 pillars are strong, you won't be left waiting for someone to rescue you. You won't feel powerless or forgotten. Instead, you'll walk through life with confidence, knowing that no matter what changes, you are equipped to handle it. You are prepared not just to survive, but to truly thrive. This stage of life is not about fading into the background. It's about showing up fully, with strength, with clarity, and with the quiet confidence that comes from standing on a foundation you built, with care, courage, and intention. Because in the end, the most unshakable support you'll ever know doesn't come from others. It comes from the life you've chosen to create for yourself.